Hi guys, this is B1 from Deadzedgaming and we are doing a review of Defiance. Defiance is an Xbox 360 game. It was also released on PC and on PlayStation 3 as a multi-platform MMO game. It's an MMO third-person shooter. It plays a lot like Lost Planet / Borderlands / any other MMO game you've played out there, including WoW. Although it has some subtle differences. First difference is, as you just saw, you use weaponry, actual guns. Guns can change from anything to ones that fire rounds, to lasers, to guns that shoot needles and infect enemy NPCs. The game itself runs off an XP based system, but the level up doesn't actually level up like you would expect. Up in the top left hand corner there is a 20, that is your ego rating. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but as far as I know, when you go into your menu you actually have an ego grid. The ego grid works very much like the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X, if any of you guys are an old RPG player such as myself. Right at the start of the game you get shown 4 different abilities: overcharge, decoy, cloak and blink. Each one of these different abilities have a different effect on your character when you use them. Overcharge basically gives you that little bit of extra firepower, you shoot faster, you do a bit more damage, and as time goes on you actually turn into a real high damage dealer when you upgrade your side skills, such as Turn the Tide, Thick Skinned, vice versa, so on and so forth. I have 1 ego unit to spend. I think I'm going to spend it on Bloodlust. That is, if I deal any damage to an enemy, it recharges my ego power, which means I can use overcharge more often. When I click unlock for this skill, if you notice, the skill next to it, Deadly Cascade, has actually been unlocked. That's how this works, and that is why it reminds me of the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. Overcharge again is the damage dealing ability. You have Decoy, which lets you send out a decoy of yourself that carries on running into the distance to where you aim. This power is really good for distracting the enemy. It's a very defensive power, but it also, if you press the decoy button again, you actually swap places with your decoy. This is fantastic as it lets you flank enemy positions and keep the enemy guessing. It's also really good for multiplayer as it allows you to zap behind enemies and attack them from behind. Cloak, again, Cloak is self-explanatory. You turn invisible for a certain amount of time. It activates immediate shield regeneration. Your shield comes back straight away as soon as you use Cloak, which is a fantastic defensive ability, and later on enemies actually lose sight of you when you use it, which is fantastic. Blur is the last power that I'm going to explain. It boosts your movement speed by 50%, and your melee attacks deal full damage against shields. That is fantastic, seeing as later on in the game a lot of enemies have shields. When you're playing competitive multiplayer, everybody has shields, so Blur is actually really good for getting in there and basically meleeing your way to victory. The game itself has a range of weaponry, anything from light machine guns to pistols to guns called infectors to SMGs to shotguns to combat shotguns to sawn-off shotguns. This game has got an extensive armory of various weaponry, and the weaponry looks very different. The beauty also of this is it's all number based. If I click on this, I can show you, for the character creation right at the beginning of the game, depending on your origin story, it gives you a different weapon. I picked the machinist or mechanist, whichever one you want to call it, and they start off with a light machine gun. The veteran starts off with an assault rifle, the outlaw starts off with a shotgun, and the survivalist starts off with a sniper rifle. But if you look at these 2 screens, as I scroll down, they all have stats. Now, lovers of games such as Borderlands and the people who like to number crunch from World of Warcraft will really enjoy this part of the game, as every single time you fight an enemy, they have a chance of dropping loot. Now, you loot whores out there, it varies in different colours to the height from the rarest to most common. White is most common. The Wolfhound pistol I actually have on my screen is green. That is an uncommon piece of equipment. Unfortunately, it's one of the first ever pistols you get as part of the uncommon equipment, so it's actually not that good. But as you can see, it's got +4 mag, so it has 4 more bullets until you have to reload. Again, it's all number crunching, all number based, and essentially you just use the guns that you feel comfortable with and just upgrade as time goes on. Also, if you've noticed, each of the weapons has an experience bar. Once your weapon has leveled up, it unlocks different slots for you to be able to attach scopes, grips, and other various parts to the weapon. Again, grenades, they are the same. Grenades work very much like they do in Borderlands. They've got the same numbers and an effect. You get frag grenades and bio grenades are the two I've came across right at the moment. I have actually seen somebody use an inferno grenade which actually set fire to an area of effect, and the bio grenade snares enemies, slows them down, and causes them to basically wear boots of giant brown black sludge, which is quite a horrible effect to be under. Shields work very much like they do in games such as Halo. You get damaged and your shield recharges over time after taking cover and basically dodging bullets for that specific amount of time. Vehicles are actually a big thing in this game. If I remember correctly, Defiance has actually the TV show which this game is tied into, which is out very soon, actually signed a contract with the company Dodge. So Dodge vehicles are actually in the game as well. I've seen a Dodge Challenger, I think it was called, and the one runner, which is like a motorbike, actually has the Dodge logo on it. It's a very nice real-world-esque type thing to put into it. I just hope the advertising does not ruin the game. Okay, now where you see power, my active power is overcharge. I think I will stick with this through most of the game because I love being the damage dealer. I also love being the tank, and that is why I picked the machinist for the beginning of the game, to give myself a big gun that can shoot lots of rounds in a small amount of time, and overcharge just lets me throw more lead down range faster. Next thing we're going on to is perks. Going back to the ego grid, when you click on perks, you actually have to select 6 or 7 abilities as your main abilities that are going to be active when you use your power. Right now I've only got Bloodlust, but that's fantastic anyway. I'm going to use that just so every single time I use overcharge, I can get it back a bit quicker. Again, as you equip other perks, it lets you tailor your abilities and your character to how you see fit. This is fantastic as it allows you to really branch out and really think about where you're going to put your ego points and what abilities you're going to level up in the future as a character build. Also, the beauty of the game is you can also respec. You get to a certain point in the game and you can actually pay scrip. Money in this game is called scrip. When you use scrip to respec your character, it gives you all your ego points back. You get to pick your main power again, and you get to basically reallocate every single point you have. This makes it a bonus, as you don't need to create a new character to play in a different style. You can play as the character you made and you love, and just essentially respec and make a stealth build, or respec and make a blur build, which is like a melee rush build. Okay, next thing we're going to go into is customization. The game itself has very limited customization at the beginning. You can wear headgear and you can change your outfits. This part I am at literally is the 15 minutes into the game, so I do not have any headgear or an outfit. But as the game goes on, you can customize either one to get a kind of a unique character. The unfortunate part about this is, as DLC comes out and as the episodes on television come out, and the episode missions appear, people are just going to jump on the bandwagon, and you will see a lot of people wearing the same clothing, especially with things such as vehicles and weaponry. It's unfortunate that that's going to happen, but it is an MMO and they tend to follow trends. Next thing is item modification. You can actually salvage items and break them down to resources. You can attach mods, remove mods, retrieve mods, because when you remove a mod, it destroys the mod. If you retrieve it, you can get it back, but it usually costs something a little bit extra. Or you can add mod slots to your item. Right at the beginning of the game, you don't actually have access to this. You unlock it later on. The rest are things such as boosts, stats, and your overall inventory. Boosts you actually have to buy with bits. Bits are what you purchase with your real life money. So if I wanted to buy a certain amount of bits, I would have to use my real world cash from my bank account to pay for that. As much as this is good for people who want a boost, as far as I know, it is definitely not a pay to win game. The only issue I can see with that as pay to win is when you start going into competitive multiplayer. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now, guys, is I'm going to run up here. This is one of the first main bases you find. This is the Earth Republic camp. Every single area that contains a lot of every hub area will always have a ammo cache. This lets you refill your ammo and not have to panic about running out of ammo later on. If I press X on here, this is the store. Again, people who love games like Borderlands, they will know the vending machines off that game usually gave a special item for a certain amount of price for a certain amount of time. This game does exactly the same. This game is offering me a FRC saw light machine gun. This gun obviously expires in 45 minutes. That gives me the time to decide whether I want it or not, or if I pick something a little bit better up, then I will eventually. These are some of the various helmets in the game which I was on about. If you equip, you can actually view what it'll look like on your character. As far as I know, selecting a male or female character actually does change what the item actually looks like when you equip it as a character. Sell, you know what sell is. I'm going to sell that pistol, and buy back is buy back. Now, as you go through the game, you unlock things called key codes. Key codes is what I'm on right now. Key codes you use to unlock lockboxes. Lockboxes contain... This one contains 2 random items of at least uncommon rarity. So these are essentially how you're going to get your better weaponry, other than doing the raid bosses and other high risk missions. The issue with this is you're not always guaranteed to get the best out of your script and out of your key codes. And unfortunately, sometimes you actually get weapons that are worse than the ones you are carrying. This allows you to sell them and maybe make a bit more script than what you actually spent on the lockbox, but that is not really what you want. You want a weapon that's going to last you for a long time. Also, things such as the Synergy mod cache, that they give you mods that you can attach to your character and weaponry to essentially pair up your weapons that you already have. Again, this is a bit more, this is a risk reward kind of thing, but you know, it's entirely up to you whether you want to do that or not. Okay, so I'm going to run back down the hill and I'm going to show you one of the missions. Again, this is one of the missions right at the beginning of the game, so it's not going to be anything spectacular, but as time goes on, I will update you on various things throughout the game.
The Republic has a mission that needs seen to, but it has to be handled by an outsider.
Okay, when you accept missions such as this, they just show up as a glowing blue mark on the map and a exclamation mark. It will essentially give you a bit of flavour dialogue to say what the mission's about. It'll tell you the reward you get. You'll get a mod, you'll get some script and some XP for this, which is all fine and dandy, so I'll accept this mission.
I've put our objective on the map. Let's go.
Okay, your ego system actually speaks to you. She actually puts objectives on the map and tells you where you need to go, what you need to do, and essentially gives you a heads up in battle. Sometimes, I have to admit, she does get slightly annoying as she does repeat herself over and over. And as far as I know, there is no real way to turn her off. But she doesn't break away from the game, which isn't too bad. Now, NPCs actually wander about. There are missions that just randomly appear and you just play as and when you want to. You don't necessarily have to jump off and do every single you come across, but it depends on if you want the experience or not. Here's some enemies. They actually have health bars, and as you shoot them, it tells you how much XP and critical you do. You can actually turn this off, so you can turn health bars off, and you can actually turn weapon damage on and off. This actually is for people who say loved the Borderlands micromanagement of the weaponry. That can tell you how much damage you're dealing, when you're getting a critical, and other various things such as that. For people who much prefer the Lost Planet style of gameplay, where they ended up just shooting at enemies until they died, you can actually switch all that off, which I think is a very nice touch that the developers have added. That it's tailored towards both shooters and people who love MMOs. Okay.
All targets are handled. Nice job.
Also, the beauty of this game as well is some of the missions.
We got what we came for. Let's get out of here.
Some of the missions require you to drop off things at lockboxes. They usually send you to the nearest lockbox, which saves you having to worry about running backwards and forwards to the person who's giving you the mission. The only issue is, I've noticed, is they do not have adaptive quests, meaning that if you run through an area and kill every single enemy in that area and then take a mission, that mission may send you back to that area to re-kill everything there. There's actually been once or twice when I have actually gone through an area 6 or 7 times just to do the same mission over and over, just to get the one little thing I needed, or just because the missions were just asking the same thing of me over and over.
You can use it to personalize your equipment.
Okay, main missions are ones like this. This one's called Sniper's Ridge. I'm going to select this quest, and I'm just going to show you what the actual missions are actually what they're like. So the storyline missions are built for the game. They actually progress the storyline, and as the storyline progresses, you actually get further and further deeper into the world of Defiance. Initially, the first couple of missions, you're trying to find a man called Von Bach, or Von Bosch. He's actually the leader of your group. You are actually called an Arc Hunter. That will lead to something I will explain later in another video. But right now, I'm just going to show you one of the early missions, and I'll show you the variations of enemies and how the game reacts. If you notice, up in the right hand corner at the top, on the map up the top, there is a purple star. That purple star is another player. Now, as I'm playing this level, if you've noticed, the sabotage ammo caches has actually 2 have already been done. That's because I have suddenly joined this other character in this area, and she or he wants to carry on with this mission. She can, and whatever I do in this mission will help her, and vice versa. This is fantastic, as say if 7 or 8 different people all come into one area, people can actually join missions halfway through and help each other out. This is really adaptive. It makes the game feel a bit more organic, feel a bit more realistic, as in real life, if I was shooting an ammo cache and I blew it up, the person next to me wouldn't have to do the same thing as I've already done it. Now, here is one of the first sub-mini bosses that you fight. He's actually a grenadier. He actually, that character actually becomes a modern, you know, a regular bad guy as the game goes on. They actually carry miniguns, grenade launchers, and other various nasties. I'm going to use overdrive just to do a bit more damage. So this enemy is called Sergeant Monroe, but they're normally just called mutant minigunner or mutant grenadier. So I've just killed him on my screen, and it will finish the mission for her as well. I must also bring to your attention that the world of Defiance is actually set into various servers. Each of these servers are called shards. You see, also when you get knocked down, you have two options. You can either, well, you have three. You can either wait for somebody to revive you, which I'm hoping this person will do. Or you can hold X to self-revive. This actually comes back after a certain amount of time, or when you've killed a certain amount of enemies. You can actually gain abilities later on that help you pair up your self-revive more often. Thank you very much, person. And
actually help out here. He said you can take one of the runners to get around.
And
pick it up at HQ on your
or you can extract. When you extract, you actually go to the nearest base or the nearest respawn point. You gain some of your abilities, your life back, you gain your shield back. It even gives you a bit more ammunition. The only issue is sometimes it sometimes respawns more enemies in the area, and it heals the ones you have already damaged. But it still keeps the game fresh, it still keeps the game moving. Another thing also, because this game is an MMO, if you do not have a persistent internet connection, you will actually keep getting disconnected, or you will not be able to play the game at all. Also, the game comes with initial requirements of a 10 GB download. That is actually minus patches and other various things as the game comes out. I'm hoping that it doesn't take up too much space, as people who don't have a hard drive bigger than the 20 GB hard drive of the original Xboxes will actually find it difficult trying to keep the game, you know, keep the game running and keep the game on. So I've now unlocked the Deadbolt sniper rifle, and I've unlocked my own vehicle. If I hold X, I can actually jump on the vehicle, and it plays very much like a mount in any other game, except you pull left trigger to drive, right trigger to drive, left trigger to reverse, and A button is to boost. That is on the Xbox 360, or if you're using an Xbox controller on your PC. Now, that is basically it. I hope you guys have enjoyed my little review. It's just me generally just chatting about what I know about the game. I was a member of the beta, so a lot of this knowledge I have is based off the beta and my 2 hours worth of gameplay with the previous character I made earlier. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and yeah, remember to rate, like and subscribe to my videos. I hope to see you guys on Defiance very soon, and if you want, just send me a message on the gamer tag N3OAngelo. You can find me on Facebook at Deadzedgaming, and on YouTube at Deadzedgaming as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you guys enjoy the game itself, because I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I will bring you updates on various things in the future. This is B1 signing off.